Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Major Income here with the Minister of Communications of the World, Honorable Mark Vanterpool. We're talking about the cruise Pier development project. There's a concern that we should have had some local investors involved in the project. Is it too late to have local investors, or was any thought given to that possibility?
Yes, you know my style, I would love to see as much as possible to have local investment in the project at different levels. And while we are trying to move as quickly as possible in this because of the time frame involved, and we've literally lost the cruise ship business already. We're trying to get it back. We would still like to see local investment in the project. So, discussions and negotiations with this group, we are leaving open the possibility for some local investment in this. We know it may take some time to raise that kind of investment, but we are discussing leaving that opening there with the group, and they're amenable to that. So it's something that we are in discussions with. It's not something that I would go out there and sign my name to now, but it's something that we're discussing. Okay,
because we have several investment clubs in the territory, as well as a lot of people with money, and a lot of BVI landers with money in the bank that is getting between 0.75 and 1.75% interest, and certainly this would have been an opportunity for them to get a good return on their investment. Are you going to, perhaps, is it too late to get this the investors to say set aside a percentage of the cost or the investment to local people to come in and invest some money, and that's something that you will be able to do in this go-round?
The answer is, Comrade, I don't think it's too late, and I'll tell you the number that we've been talking about with the group, and it's just a discussion, I'll be honest with you, we've been having for a couple of months now, and they're open. The number is somewhere between 15 and 25 million of the project development.
Okay. Have you contacted any local persons, or can we say here tonight that local persons wanting to invest in the project can contact you and make their intentions?
I would say it's not advanced at that stage yet. It's to the point where we are discussing with the investors whether we can reserve a number that we can work with to go out and raise locally to be invested. Once we have come up with that kind of position, then we can. I would be willing to come forward. It's not something that it's a position that we're pushing very hard to the investors. We don't want it to delay the project, but they are very open to including investment in it.
So in the near future, we can expect a statement on that part of the investment from you?
Yeah, we're discussing it. There are other aspects of it that we want to be discussing with them also. The other areas, and in fact, what I'm doing right now, I'm engaging a local group to have a symposium, a number of symposiums, probably during the following August Festival and September, to discuss all of the investment possibilities in this project, be it direct investment, be it whether it could be investment in the transportation side of it, whether it could be investment in the shops and developments at the end there, how we can guide you, how we can open the possibilities that are there, how we can assist you with guiding you to banking or to our national business bureau, and how we can coordinate getting people in the project to be able to benefit from it. So we're going to open up all the possibilities that are there, because we believe that there isn't any possibility that is in that project that locals can't benefit from. But we just want to help to guide people as to how to get there, how to go about raising money for it, how to go about even preparing the kind of shops that should be in there, what you put inside.
Is there going to be a standard that is going to be told to persons who want the space that they're going to have to meet?
Yes.
Yeah. And you know that those standards usually take money, the fancy lighting, the showcases, the shelves, the employees, and so on. Local people are going to have challenges raising that kind of money to facilitate initial investment into the
yeah, well, it depends.
Spaces?
It depends,
how you
it depends on what you're putting in, because we don't want to make that development have all one quote-unquote boring standard of what it might be. There might be local shops who may have a local flavor that doesn't need all that fancy stuff, and the tourists may like it. It needs to be clean and presentable, and tourists may like that better than a fancy shop with all the lights and dazzles.
But who's going to set the standard? Is there going to be a standard? Who's going to set the standard, and what that standard is going to be?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. There's going to be a standard developed, and that will be discussed with the potential persons investing. But what I'm saying is, we want to have a symposium, like expo type of arrangement, where for 4 or 6 weeks between, say, August and September, we can go out there and show what the possibilities are, what the lease kind of leases might be available, how you might be able to do it, how we can arrange the bank. Can the government say to National Bank, of these 25 shops that we want to be local here, we want you to assist us to fund the organization, the inventory, whatever is going to go in there, and we government will have a certain level of guarantee to you to do that, and how we will train the people to operate and sell in those shops and so on. Those are all things that we want to present as possibilities.
So you're going to help with the financing, you're also going to help with the training, and you're going to use primarily the National Business Bureau to help local businesses to be successful in this new venture.
Yeah, like I said, when it comes to committing government financing and funding, that's for the Premier to do, and it's a discussion we're having. So I'm not going to come here and speak, but the government is interested in assisting that way, and I know it's the Premier's policy as he's going forward through the National Business Bureau to assist with helping with guarantees and so on for small business development, and that will fall right in that category.
You know what the total number of spaces are going to be available for rent in the project?
I don't have a number. I know I can give you a total square footage that's going to be available, because we haven't really broken it up yet. If you come and you say you have a shop that you want to do for 2,000 square feet or 2,500 square feet, the other person may want to have one for 500 square feet or 1,000 square feet. But the total number, I think, for the square footage available is going to be about 65,000 square feet. And is it 65, 40? Something in that rate. No, sorry. 40 and 12, 52,000 square feet.
52,000 square feet. Now, you're setting aside 25%, 25 spaces for local businesses?
We have discussed, and it's not cast in stone, you know. So I'm saying 25 spaces at approximately 500 square feet each space. We have discussed to be set aside at a concessionary rate. In other words, if the square footage is $50 a square foot normally, and we would like to rent it to the local people for $25 a square foot. And the number there and the 500 square feet we're talking about brings it to approximately $1,200 a square foot per month. $1,200 a month for the 500 space, roughly.
So you're talking about a 50% reduction in costs. Can we safely say that?
50% is a good safe way to say it. I think they're looking at renting the spaces for about $65 a square foot.
Okay. Now, if a local person wants to rent a space anyway, not necessarily at a concessionary price, would they be given first preference to rent the spaces? They will at the regular
they'll be given first preference to rent the space at the regular rate.
At the regular rate.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as far as constructing,
just to go a little further than that, in addition to those 25 spaces, there are going to be 16 kiosks. You know, when you go into the big shop malls now, in the middle as you're walking on, you have those kiosks that can
a little space where you can have a hot dog stand,
or you can have some perfume selling, or you can have. We're going to have 16 of those, and those again will be available to locals. And we're also going to have a building that, as soon as you come into the Pier Park from the Admin Drive Road, we're going to have another 12 what we call market spaces that will be there.
Okay. Now, you're likely to have more of a demand than you have space to give to locals.
Yes.
How is the space, how is the decision going to be made as to who's going to get what space?
I don't have but a full detail of that right now, but I know it's going to be an issue that will have to be discussed. What we're doing right now is inviting persons to write into the Port Authority, copy to the ministry, and we will bring trade in to be involved in it, to have interest, letters of interest. And then at a later stage, when we know how we're going to be doing the final development of the project, then we will take those letters of interest to go further towards the Pier Park group, who will make the selections to look at those selections.
Okay. Does that mean first come first serve basis, or it just means?
I'm sure it won't be as simple as that, but I'm sure that will have something to do with it.
Okay, but a criteria will be developed as to how those choices will be made, and that would be made public, because there will be a level of transparency, I'm sure, that will be required.
Yeah, it will be made public. Yes, it will be made public.
So we will know how that the selection is being made.
Yes,
perhaps a lottery or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
now there's going to be what?
For example, the 12 spaces that we may decide might be a part of the market, what we call a market square. We might do it on a 6-month lottery. Every 6 months you get a space. So you might have 6 months, and then you might have. I'm talking about people who do like this, the small vendors, whether it's craft or whether it's something that we want to encourage in there. You might have a space for 6 months, and then you do another lottery, and another 12 people come in. This is not the space. The kiosk and the market space I'm talking about.
And that's going to be smaller than 500 market space.
Yeah, they're much smaller. These are small, it's all one big open space, but you'll have like cubicles that you can operate from. 12 of those we're going to be looking at.
Okay. Now this is a large construction project. You're talking about around $50 million. What is the participation going to be of the local construction industry?
We have made it clear, and we're setting up agreements and arrangements where the landside development will be totally built by BV Islanders. The shore side, the pier, is expected to be built by more technical situations where the group that is doing it, through their expertise, using some local expertise in terms of barges and piling and so on, will be used. But the pier side is expected to be a bit more of a technical project that will be used by.
So BVI Land is going to build a landside development, and what that would be under the supervision of a foreign company, or that's going to be
the Pier Park group. Part of their group is a construction group, and they will oversee the construction. They'll be the construction managers of the project. But the actual construction is going
subcontractors,
to be all of the subcontractors,
the laborers, and
will
so
all
on
be local.
Will be local. What about the materials and so on? Are we going to? Basically, what I'm getting at is how much money we're going to be able to keep in the territory and circulate in the territory.
Yeah.
You know, talking about materials is Terrace Construction, Clarence Thomas Limited, all these various stout, all these various material selling firms, construction material selling firms. How are they going to be involved in the process?
The group has already begun to meet with some of the local suppliers and beginning to ask them to consider bidding on supplies for the project. Of course, they can't form anything up until we have an agreement, which we don't have. And you know, it may take the next 30, maybe 60 days, 90 days to finalize it. But I'm saying what they intend to do is to work through the local suppliers to do what you call bidding on material. And I think it would be in local suppliers' interest, not even to wait for them, but to make offers to them of what they can provide.
How can local suppliers and contractors contact the persons in charge of this development to get their foot in the door for contracting work, construction work, as well as material sales? How can they get into the door right now?
They can feel free to contact me if they wish, but my consultant on the project with the port, Mr. Clark Skelton Klein, you can also contact him, and obviously you can come through our ministry, and we will put you in touch with the group as well as the Port Authority.
Okay, so should they come through the ministry or come through you personally, come through Claude Klein personally, you have a number set up at the ministry where you can give out right now where they can call?
We're not, it's improper to be so formal until we sign an agreement.
Okay.
So we're not doing that. Once we've signed an agreement, we will then begin to put these things in place in a formal way. What I'm saying is, it doesn't hurt at this point if you're a vendor selling to make contact. I mean, that's
to make contact with you,
with myself, Claude Klein, and he will put you in touch with the.
And what numbers?
I am not. I mean, the ministry. You can reach us through the ministry.
Okay.
468-3701, Ministry of Communications and Works. That would be the best way to reach us.
So you leave a message there. You get, if you're there, you'll answer. If you're not there, you'll get back to whoever calls.
Yeah, and most likely they'll put the call through my personal secretary, Ms. Betsy Smith Hanley, or to my permanent secretary.
And they can write. And they can write as well, write in as well, so they have a formal representation.
You can write to us, and we will pass it on to the persons. But I want to reaffirm that it's in the development stage. There's no agreement signed with these folks, so they can't make any offers to anyone until they have an agreement. And the possibility still exists that there won't be an agreement.
But we need to, but those of us that want to participate, those local companies that want to participate in the development, need to make representation as soon as possible.
If they would like to know, we will make access to the people who are involved.
And you will keep a running list of persons who have made contact, and as well as those persons who want spaces.
Yes.
They could contact
as well. My view is, here's something happening.
Get on it.
Get on board, and we will do everything possible to accommodate you. Because we want as much local participation as possible.
Okay. You just came from a taxi association meeting. Taxi drivers have a concern about staging area, logistics, as to how they're going to go into the pier and have access to customers. But even particularly those taxi drivers that are not part of tour operators, have not had their tours booked in advance.
You call them independents. Yeah.
Independent taxi operators and tour operators. How are they going to be able to go onto the port, close to the tourists, and say, listen, I can offer you a good rate on a tour that's going to go around the island? How are they going to be able to do that?
I was just at a meeting and saw the presentation that was made, and the questions were being asked. I left with more questions being asked, and that's a good thing. But effectively, Cormer, what is not going to happen in this project in terms of what we're doing in the organization, we do not want what we call a sense of arrival of cruise ship passengers.
Say that again.
Sense of arrival. When you arrive in a ship and you look down, we don't want them to see a whole set of buses. That's not the sense of arrival we want.
Okay.
We want them to see a different sense of arrival, a nice cruise port development, and nice things that are there. What we are arranging for is to have the buses in a nearby area, staging area, that as you get off the ship, you will be directed to. Let's say if you say you have a pre-arranged tour, you'll be given a number to go to a certain spot on the pier where the taxi guys are. If you're what you call an independent, you'll be directed to an independent taxi dispatcher who will be in the reception hall, and that dispatcher will discuss with you your independent taxi driver's needs and will direct you to a dispatcher that is accommodating independent buses. What we don't want is for every independent driver to be harassing the tourists as they come off. But the independent drivers, we are hoping they can form an independent drivers association, or whatever you may want to call it, and then nominate somebody who will be their dispatcher to send people to them.
Okay, so you want to do it in an orderly fashion. The Taxi Association agreed to this presentation. What other feedback did you get? It's
in discussion. They have issues. They have questions. Obviously, they would like to be right up next to the ship, and but we are not going to allow that in this arrangement we're doing.
Okay. One of the things I noticed recently from the design and layout is that the whole development is going to be behind secure lines. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't understand.
Okay. Right now, when you go up to the port, there is a
fence,
a 9.5 foot high fence, barbed wire fence, and that whole area to the port is fenced off,
yeah,
because of international shipping and port security code. Right? That's a international requirement, right? And in that international secured area is where the development is going to be.
As I understand it, Cromwell, there has been a misconception or miscommunication in the past,
okay,
about what is internationally required.
Okay.
What we are saying with this port development, and this is not, because I don't know the details of it, but the persons who are involved, including our coast or Port Authority people, we are aware that at a certain point, close to the ship, in other words, the access to the ship in terms of going on to the wharf itself is going to be restricted, needs to be restricted. The access to this development we have will be completely open to the public.
Okay. Okay, all right. So now I understand what you're saying, but right now, where I drove out there, and right now where I'm looking at where the development is slated to be, that area is fenced off.
There won't be a fence. There won't be a fence after this.
So you're taking the fence.
You're taking the fence down.
And in order to get in there, you have to have an ID.
No, not into the. You won't need an ID to go into the shops and to the development.
If it's behind that fence,
it won't be behind the fence. That's the point I'm making.
Okay, so
there won't be a fence. There'll be a fence.
You're going to move the fence.
There'll be a protected area, Cromwell, a very small area. Okay, just imagine you come out the ship, and you'll be going to a reception building closest to the wharf where you come out the ship.
Right.
That reception building, from that point, in an angle to the wharf, will be fenced and protected. You can't go beyond that without identification and permission. The rest of the development, which is going to be 95% of it, is going to be free and open, just like you walk into town.
Okay, because that was, when I looked at it, I said, well, based on where it was, that was a concern I'm having. And as far as I know about the regulations, everybody have to be going behind that fence, have to have an ID.
No, that fence won't be there, which is no.
And the fence won't be there, so that's gonna come down.
What we want to do, Cromwell, is encourage everyone to go into the park, not just tourists.
Okay, so conceivably then you have a situation where the cruise ship passengers coming off the port, going into the park, and local people are going to have lunch, going to shop.
Sure.
Everybody will be mixing in one general area, and
you want to encourage that.
And that's fine. That's going to be fine with international security arrangements.
You just can't go beyond the fence that will be right close to the dock itself.
Okay.
In other words, you can't have access to the ship itself.
Okay. There were some concerns. I heard someone call on Speak Your Mind, talk about the emphasis that we're putting on the cruise ship in the cruise ship industry, the focus we put in the cruise ship industry. And I was looking at some of the stats today from the development planning unit, and some of the stats were saying that 2007, for example, where during the height of the tourist season, I think that was the highest point in our tourist season. After that, there was a decline, a steady decline. The overnight visitors spent about $349 million that year in 2007, and the cruise ship passengers spent $51 million during that year, which is almost 9 times more than 8 times more than what the cruise passengers spend. Have we been able to justify the investment, or we don't need to justify that investment into the focus into cruise tourism? What seemingly in some people's mind is at the expense of the overnight cruise tourists?
There are different arguments to that. And we commissioned a study. Like I said, there were studies before, but we also commissioned what we call a broad economic study and an accounting study by the firm PKF, which used to be Panel Co-Foster, through Mr. Meade Malone's group. And what has been studied based on the cruise lines themselves statistics and based on other country statistics, for example, syndicates, before they put in a landside development like we've done, their cruise ships passengers spent on an average per passenger, I think less than $20 on average. After they did the landside and they did all the things on the land that will encourage people to spend more money, they're up to $97 or nearly $100 per passenger. Now, in our view, and I don't know the statistics, I can't remember the statistics now for us of what the per passenger spend is, but it's certainly less than $97, a lot less at this point. But when we put in the amenities and the different things that we can encourage people to spend, the better. When we improve the historical sites, when we improve what we may call a walk through Main Street, or all those things we would encourage and develop, we expect that, and it's the cruise line's advice to us, that BVI destination is one of the most craved out destinations, and the level of clients that we're looking for, Disney's clientele is those who own $100,000 on an average per annum, and so is Norwegian Cruise Line. We are anticipating that we will quickly get up to the $100 per cruise passenger expenditure per annum. So if let's say you had 600,000 cruise passengers spending an average of say $100 per passenger, I don't know what that number comes out to, but
so but you are counting on a considerable increase
in
because of the investment.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, certainly.
Now there's another concern, of course, about local competition of the stores and the local businesses. Is there a framework or a criteria for what kind of businesses are going to be in the port area? What is going to be allowed there, and how that's going to impact on the local businesses, the local stores, regarding competition?
Yeah, based on what we have seen and looked at in Jamaica and other places where the cruise port benefits a lot of the local vendors, the encouragement is to, one, provide as much local craft and culture that we can sell in there. Even I've had a call from someone who is a dress designer who wants to be in the port, a local dress designer. That's the kind of thing we want to encourage in there. There's somebody who is doing pottery, who wants to put their pottery business in there. That's the kind of thing we want to encourage in there.
So foreign stores, though, what kind of foreign stores are you looking at and having come in? And are you going to be inviting the stores? The stores are going to be making representation? You're going to be promoting the destination? The stores are going to be making representation to come? How is that going to work?
Most times, Carmel, most cruise pairs, like the one we're doing, there's a certain type of clientele or shop who are anxious to bid to get in. And most times, as you may or may not, you will know that this is the jewelers and those types of persons who want to come in. So there will be applications, and the Pier Port group is going to study those applications and determine who they would like to come in. And they may make some invitations too, because there are some standard shops that the cruise business would like to encourage, that will attract their cruise passengers when they come to the territory.
From a factual point of view, they have some businesses, particularly on Main Street and other areas of the BVI, will tell you that Columbia Emeralds, for example, and Jewels in Switzerland have had a tremendous negative impact on their jewelry stores and their businesses, where they have lost, a considerable amount of customers. In fact, I think that impacted one particular jewelry store that went out of business. When they come, the jewelry store was before they came, the jewelry store was flourishing.
Before the ships came?
Before the Columbia Emeralds came.
Oh, I see.
Before these large companies came
in, yeah.
The jewelry stores were flourishing, and since they came, well, at least one went out of business. A couple are having challenges right now as we speak. So the competition in that regard is a concern for particularly those businesses on Main Street. Yeah,
and that's an important consideration, Cromwell, and what we would like to do, because as you quite rightly say, it's difficult to compete against some of those bigger jewelry shops and so on. But what we would like to do is encourage businesses like those to let us discuss how in the long run, we can help those businesses to grow and develop. Quite often it's a matter of either inventory or appearance or service. What you can do, and we may not always have the funds to make it that way. But we would like our local shops to be able to enjoy the benefits of having a larger number of people coming through the territory. It is true that the cruise ships tend to guide people to certain shops. What we're learning now is that that is becoming less and less attractive to the cruise ship passengers. They're a lot more what you call internet savvy, or they're saying we can check for ourselves. We want to see what's going on in the town, and we want to encourage more of that.
In the historic sites in those areas, are you going to allow local business to open on the historic sites where they're selling refreshments, souvenirs? Is that something that you have thought about as in the plan?
This is all part of what we said when we develop in those historical sites, what we want to do. We want to develop in a way that is done in an attractive way. If you don't want to have a situation where at a historical site, because tourists are coming there, everybody runs in there and pitches a tent and makes the place look very unattractive. So we would like to look at how we can develop it and encourage and allow, as you quite rightly said, vendors, but in an organized way, and not just, you won't be able to just walk in and pitch a tent, is the point. We want to do it in an organized way that is attractive.
It seems to me like you're going to have to set up a system, a structure, or organization within your ministry to facilitate what the demand is going to be on this new development. Yeah. How are you going to manage this new demands on the opportunities that's going to develop and exist?
And we're working initially to try to get it all set up, and then eventually we want to let it be managed by some group, more than likely at the beginning the tourist board, but we don't want it to be a function of the Ministry of Communications and Works. We are developing the port and trying to make it work, but the parts that make the port cruise ship operations work, including the destinations and so on, we want to ensure that the tourist board and any other body that we may set up. I believe you're quite right that we may even have to set up some group that manages and looks after all these facilities, whether it's through the natural resources and labor grouping for beaches and so on, or whether it be the National Parks Trust in some cases, or whether it be some other formal group that is organized to look after and manage these places, because it's going to take some management and structure, as you quite rightly say.
How are we going to get the flow of the traffic? In a lot of ports that I've been to, tourists have a tendency to stay in the port area when there's a large development, where there's things to do, things to see, things to buy, place to eat, hang out, entertain, and so on. All the things that we are planning for the port here, it has a tendency to have the cruise passengers congregate in that area. What is going to be done to make sure that the territory as a whole and particularly Main Street and the Rotong area, have that traffic flow of those tourists come into town, go around in the different historic sites, take in the whole territory benefit, and not just all that money stays on the port side and goes into the pockets of the investors?
One of the things, Cromwell, that I have discovered and that I see is that this is all port, this is all town. And when the cruise ship bring the passengers here, the first thing that we all have to do, the tourist board and all the rest of us, is to find a way to get them off the ship. Because as you know, people come on the ship, they make a determination within their minds whether okay, I've been to that port over there, I've done some shopping, should I come off in this port and look to see if the historical sites are attractive, if I want to go on a tour, if I want to just hang out around town. So the first effort is to get them off the ship. The kind of statistics that we've looked at is in BVI, for example, there's probably been an average of 50% of the tourists who come on the ships coming off in BVI. In the new Falmouth development that has a similar thing to what we are doing, 85% come off. In other developments in Jamaica, in Ocho Rios and so on, 30-35% come off. because when they come to the city, it's not attractive enough. They're afraid of certain things and so on. So you have to create the atmosphere to get people out of the ship, number one. Once you've gotten them out of the ship, Cromwell, there are a number of places they will go to, obviously. Obviously, some will stick around close by. They want to walk. They want to stay in the village maybe. They want to go to the main street and so on at walking distance. Others will want to take the tours, and others may want to go on the water. So we estimate that there's going to be about 25 or 30% hanging around town, walking around. Another, say, 40% or so of them going on tours, or 50%. And there are 10 or 15% going on what we call the marine tours to other places on the water. So, but our job is to get them off the ship. And with this new development, we believe more will come off the ship than came out before.
You're having a notice on the designs, you're having a trolley running through the park area. Is that trolley going to come outside the park area? The
trolley concept I told the taximan tonight is a concept.
Okay.
In fact, I don't even think, for the way I see it, it's not going to happen at the beginning of this project. It's a concept where the suggestion is that the trolley will get people around town. Say starting from the Festival Village was one of the destinations we were talking about. Coming to town, going as far as the hospital, and going across to the pier. That's the concept. No, I don't know if the concept is if you're ready for the concept yet in the building.
Well, that's one of the things that would have made the flow of traffic come into town. It would have been easy access for people to come around.
And that's one of the things that we want. But as I said, it's thrown out there for the public, and we want feedback on it. There's some who like it, some who don't like it. Taximen definitely don't like it, obviously.
Right.
Because they believe that it's going to rob them of a taxi fare around town. And so you have to give ear to their views. But it's not only their views you have to give ear to. You have to listen to other people's views as to what should be done. So we have thrown it out, and we want to hear feedback. So far, you know, some feedback is positive, some is negative. So it's something that we want to consider. But in planning Road Town, as I told the group tonight, the Road Town plan, we want to provide for that type of thing in the future, because our interest that we want to provide for as a Road Town development, nothing to do with the cruise ship now. We want to find better ways of getting pedestrians around Road Town and give it more attention rather than cars up and down and people afraid to cross over in the traffic. More attention we want to place. We want to place more attention on pedestrians getting around Road Town and getting access to the shops and all the places in Road Town. And if the elderly needs to get around with a trolley, and other persons who want to walk through the hot sun around town want to jump on a trolley and jump off at different points, so be it.
What's the plan for Craft Alive? What are you going to do with Craft Alive?
Craft Alive is we're about to begin the process of adding some more spaces. You may see the place cordoned off. Some of the palm trees we've moved out. There were issues of whether how dangerous they were and the spaces they were taking up. But you know, it's when the falling palms or coconuts come down, we were worried about that. But we planted them down at, you may see a replanting plan we did down at Queen Elizabeth Park, where they've been replanted. There were one or two of them that were bent and not able to be replanted. But we've done that. We are about to put the new buildings down. The project is about to start. In fact, it started effectively. And so that by October or so, they will be completed. And for the next cruise ship season, all of the vendors will be occupied in there. And the tents will be taken down from over there.
Is Main Street going to become a pedestrian mall?
That's a discussion I would like to see that we have for example, the end of July when we're doing the discussions, and then I would like to meet with the Main Street Association, Business Association, and get their views. It's a lot of discussions we have to have on that. That's not a simple thing to move to, but we need to get the views of the public on it, and it has to be tied in if we're making it go to that direction with the whole parking concept of the broader Road Town, and how the access we make to the Main Street at different places, and how we make that very easily accessible and so on from different points. For example, at the Craft Alive point, we are making a kind of raised crosswalk across to the Main Street that a tourist or a resident alike can see the obvious connectivity to Main Street and can walk across that raised, colored crosswalk. those kind of things we need to do a lot more. But the issue of Main Street needs to be a discussion that we have, and get as much input as possible, especially from the business owners on Main Street.
You did a social impact study to see how the movement of people, all these people coming in, how it's going to impact the environment, how it's going to impact the businesses, the infrastructure. Are you doing those things?
Yes, we have a study being conducted by Dr. Cassandra O'Neill and her group on different aspects of it, including the issue of reclamation. Dredging that we are doing in the area, and reclamation and so on. So that is a study that is being completed.
Movement of people, impact on infrastructure.
She's doing she's subcontracted part of her study, what we call a social impact study that she's doing.
When will that be completed?
We've seen a preliminary draft of it, but I believe in the next 2 weeks or so we'll have the final draft on it.
Will that be made public?
Yes.
And will we have people to come out to us and to the media and the talk shows to discuss that study? And
yeah, we'll put it out. It's a useful thing to have out there. Why we didn't complete it yet, we wanted to give some time to this kind of discussion, the talk shows, people calling in, and so on. And so we basically asked her to hold before she completed to get the views of the people from the various talk shows and the public meetings that we've been having.
Okay. People are saying that this is another Bywater deal. Why is it different?
It might be completely different. Bywater is a deal where we've invited a water supplier from the United Kingdom to come into the territory and supply water, and we pay for it. This is a deal where we invite some investors to invest some money in the port development, and we collect revenue from what they're going to develop in a major way, much more than we have been collecting before. So this is a revenue earner from my point of view. It's not an expense project, and we also have a partnership with this group through the Port Authority, and the possibility of local investment in this agreement. We also, for what they're going to do, going to create a lot of job opportunities and businesses that will grow and develop out of this. So it's a completely different situation. They're going to invest $75 million. We're not required to guarantee anything that they're putting in here. So it's an entirely different deal in my view.
The airport expansion, this week, and we following it here in the clock. The airport expansion project, the airport that comes under the Ministry of Communication and Works, but yet we hear a lot from the Ministry of Human Resource,
Natural Resources.
Natural Resource and Labor.
No, the airport authority under this government has been assigned to the Natural Resource and Labor Ministry. So
the portfolio has been shifted?
Yes.
Okay, so you're no longer responsible for the airport. That's why.
No, the connectivity that my ministry has to the airport is that civil aviation, which means the management of the technicality of the airlines and so on coming in, is still under the Ministry of Communications and Works, but the actual authority reports to the Ministry of Natural Resources.
Okay. Anything else you want to say?
No, I want to say it's been a good opportunity to sit and talk with you, and you always have good questions to bring out the truth out of it. We are still in the final stage of this agreement. I tell people that I don't have an agreement to give you to talk about this because we haven't signed any agreement, but the information I'm giving out is information that we've been discussing, so it's something that we want to let the public know, that coming from the minister and others that represent us, that this is information that we are negotiating. When we have a final agreement, it will be made public.
Okay. Somebody just texted and they say they just tuned in. They would like to know if the company building the cruise ship project will be dictating what ships could come to visit. That we discussed.
Yeah, that's the Port Authority responsibility.
And all ships going to be coming?
All ships. In fact, the more ships come, it's better for those people, the payer group,
yes,
and for the government. So we are actually on a mission to try to get as many ships as possible to come. The preference, in other words, the two cruise lines that we're negotiating will have some preference times at the pair, but other ships will be coming also. I am going to be in Florida in August 15, I think it is, to meet with a number of the cruise ship companies. I'm also in regular meetings with Royal Caribbean and others to finalize some. We're going to make more agreements with them. They're willing, in addition to these others, to give us some guarantees also.
Okay. I'm gonna take some liberties here. I'm wondering if we could put the phone number up on the screen to see if anybody will call. I know you've been pretty thorough tonight.
Yeah.
And
I thought we got some more calls. I didn't realize you weren't open to calls.
Yeah.
I like to get calls.
Yeah. I chose this format because I know that you got a lot of calls on Saturday night, and I figured that people might have had their fill. Yeah. And there were some other questions I thought that we could have asked as well, so to get that out. So I don't know if anybody wants to call us, and we just got the one text and see if anybody has something that we didn't cover tonight. But
the one area too, Kwame, I want to quickly cover is there's been a lot of discussion, and good discussion on the issue of 48-year lease.
Yes,
which is important because people want to make sure the land isn't being given away for all this time and generations. And I want to make people understand that we had 4 offers on this thing, and all offers wanted a 50-year lease if they want to put in this kind of money. They want to make sure that they have a certain amount of time to be able to make back their money and also make some profits. Obviously, when you put your money in profits. Now, what we have done is said to them, look, we can give you that 48-year lease, but we want to have the option that at a certain period of time during that lease, if we want to say we have some money and we want to take you out, that we do that. So we did at 15, and I think the next option will be 25, and we're trying to get it down to 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 39. So every 5 years, we have an option to take them out if we feel it's time to take them out at a price of course.
That seemed to be, though, from a lot of persons' perspective, a costly event, and a formula need to be worked out in order for how that's going to take place. Has a formula been worked out?
We're finalizing it, but it's going to be a cost.
I mean, what kind of concepts are being discussed in terms of?
The concepts are sort of accounting procedures that have been adopted. I myself don't fully understand it, but it's an accounting procedure that our Ministry of Finance and the advisors that we're using, financial advisors that we're using, along with the Pier group that we're discussing, they asked for a certain amount. We said no, and we are making offers for a different amount.
So it's based on what could conceived to be projected income,
projected income, what we call in the financial terms, opportunity costs on the money that you would have put in, and there's a sort of level of percentages that they use, somewhere between 8, 10, 12, 14% return of investment they would have gotten if they had their money invested otherwise, that you use and calculate that we're using.
Would it be also based on conditions on the ground at that time? For example, there could very well be economic downturn, for example, and the value of the port is diminished because people are not coming.
Yeah, those are things that we considered, but in the end, the agreement was that they were too subjective, and they're very difficult to put a price on that. So we use the economic numbers based on what we considered, and there is going to. It's a costly venture. It's a costly venture to buy them out at a time, because they invest in 75, and using that number now over a period of time to say what would have been the return on investment for a period of time versus buying them out earlier.
Right. And so if they were going to make $300 million in 48 years, and you buy them out in 5, you got to take that into account.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking at.
I still don't know enough from a contractual standpoint, but I can see the benefit provided in the proper tourist facilities. Everything comes at a cost, so I would expect that the fare most people is having is the unknown, and that too is my fare, the unknown. And I guess that's what risk taking is about.
It's a good question that people are putting, but what I try to let people understand, we have a pier that's sitting there, haven't been making any money. Here's a group that comes where we at this time can't go and borrow any money from the British government. Clearly says we're not going to be able to borrow any major money at this point. We can sit there for another 5 years and hope that things get better, and we can borrow in the next 5 years. But in the meantime, we have lost the ships to other ports. And to get them back might be a major task over the next 5 or 10 years.
Okay. Thank you for calling Spotlight. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Minister. Good evening, Adranka.
Peace.
Good evening.
Yeah, I just want to express, well, you know, the project sounds good except for this. The part I do not like is the part with the bringing in some of these international franchises. You know, we might just have a philosophical difference on that. Philosophically, I do not agree with bringing in any business, whether it's a water company, whether it's a KFC, whether it's anything that's going to compete against locals. My view is that if we got to bring in a business, let's partner with them. That's my view. I really don't know what the position of the government is on that in terms of which businesses they choose to protect and which ones they leave open to the big dogs to compete against. So that's the one thing. But I would like to get a former understanding of some of the types of businesses that would be considered for this type of view. I mean, I've been to, you know, St. Thomas, and you see the camera stores, you see the jewelers, will restaurants, will supermarkets be a part of it? What are some of the other businesses? And the next point is the Bywater point, because it seems like that one is confusing to some people in terms of the comparison to Bywater. The reason why it's being compared to Bywater is because of the same aspect I just described about competing against local business. And not just that, the last administration took the steps to bring in this company because they say they did not have the money to do some of the sewage work that needed to be done. And then the water contract was a means of paying back for, you know, kind of like a loan without getting a loan, paying back for some of the work that they thought needed to be done. And in this project here, you know, the government says they don't have any money and they need some work done, and allow this company to invest this money and make back their money through getting some head tax and some lease. I think the difference there is that we didn't give Bywater a means of making revenue directly from the public. The government has to pay them. So those are where I see some parallels, and this agreement that we have here, 48 years, is about 300% longer than the Bywater one. So that's where you're going to see some
yeah, but you got yeah, I agree with you, but you must understand that it's a 48-year lease, but it's really 15. You have an option at 15 to pay them their money and let them go. So it's really a 15-year lease, because if you, when it comes to 15 years from now, and you're in a better position to do the project or pay them for it, then you let them go. You have the option to, it's really a 15-year lease.
And I got some information in terms of how much money Bywater would have made after 16 years, which is, I think, was estimated at some 160 million. And if we pay out this group after 15 years, I think it'll be way over that amount.
No.
106, I think it. I mean,
I know. I have an idea of the numbers. It won't be anything close to that.
No, but I'm saying after 15 years, they would have made a certain amount of money from head tax and rent.
Oh yes, they would have.
And then plus the buyout money, which I'm sure is over 100 million or so. So, I mean, after you add those two figures together, I'm sure after 15 years they're making over, if you buy them out,
but there may be some similarities by Water, but there are a lot of differences.
Okay.
And those differences are opportunities for investment, opportunities for shops, opportunities to make a lot of money. This is a money-making venture, not an expenditure venture as Bywater is.
Well, I do accept that there will be opportunities to make money.
Yeah.
My preference is to, I like the part you spoke about in terms of that 25 million that we can raise. I would like to see us take those steps, take that type of ambition to get more of a stake in it. Like I said, I don't really like the idea of bringing in franchises to compete against us, but this is ultimately for the people to decide if this is something that they want to support. But I'm going to be consistent based on my view. But I still want to thank you for coming on the show tonight and sharing your views.
Yeah, I would say too that
thank you very much for
I would encourage persons to, and if they want to talk to any of the people who are coming in, the Diamonds Group or the International, if I can accommodate meetings with them to look at partnerships, I'm prepared to do that.
Okay.
As we have seen happen with some of them already.
Supermarkets, clothing stores, those are some of the questions he asked about companies coming in.
Yeah, I don't expect a supermarket to be in there, but certainly clothing stores and so on, and we want to encourage some of our local clothing store businesses to be in there, for example, and so on. But there may be some brands that may come in. I don't know. I don't really have a good handle, to be honest with you, on the type of stores we're looking at yet, but it's something that we will be discussing.
Okay, I got a text. I think we should give NDP a chance to move the country forward. People need to understand that BVI is not putting out any money.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said to somebody today when they met me and said, we could have raised that money ourselves. And yes, we could have, and I don't doubt that we could have. How long it will take, whether or not, when, in other words, that's hindsight now, in other words. But the strength of this project is the fact that we got the cruise ships to make a guarantee for the passengers. And the cruise ships only made a guarantee for the passengers on the strength that this group put up the money to do the project. You know, so I don't know if we would be able to go there and raise people's money and say, give us some money, but when we give it to us, we may be able to deal with these cruise ship people to give us a guarantee. And I don't know if just based on that, people wouldn't put their money in. But what I've said to the person is, my brother, you go there and come up with a group and we will help to accommodate it. If you raise some money, I will try to find a way that your money can be invested. That's the way I look at it. But how long is it going to take? We can't wait for that.
Okay. Now, of course, you know, there's a philosophical perspective that the government should be looking at how to first attempt to get local investment in whatever projects we're going to do. That's a philosophical perspective that is within the parameters of the government's stated position of encouraging.
That's NDP's government, and it's stated in our manifesto.
Local development.
And we will do that. And I'll tell you, there are even some other developments that we're looking at that we want to begin to put that process in place. We're talking about some bond issues. We're talking about some bonds and so on that people can get involved in a lot of the things that government intends to do.
You're talking about something like a national development corporation?
And where we have to go and put out bonds. I'm discussing the possibility of that even in other things that we want to do. So there is that possibility, and people should start, you know, we want to be able to get people on board with those kinds of things. The key thing, the other thing we have to do, Cromwell, to look at is that in 15 years from now, it's not as far as people think, but in 15 years from now, can we put together a group to buy these people out? It may not be government. It doesn't have to be government. Their share might be bought out locally by us in 15 years from now. And we're going to have those numbers that we can aspire towards when we sign the agreement.
How does one secure a space at Craft Alive?
Craft Alive spaces, as far as I know so far, have already, the number of spaces available have been already let based on the numbers that we're providing for that were over on the cruise ship dock. I don't know all the details because trade is dealing with it, but the vendors who are going to Craft Alive are, I think, the same vendors who are over on the. In fact, I think we'll be short one or two, but I believe we're trying to accommodate all those who are over there.
Okay. All right. I think I stole enough. I stole enough time. When somebody want to give a quick call, you have a couple of minutes. We found it at 3 o'clock.
I don't know how you do it, Cromwell, but I got to commend you on all these shows that you. I do a few of them recently. I'm burnt out already, but you are always at it. So I got to commend you because what you guys do, and I told Edmund this on Saturday and others, you guys provide a very good outlet for people and a chance for people to get involved in the debate that is needed, and I think it's very useful. And you know,
how will the outer islands benefit? Why cruise ship Pier isn't built in Bojangala to stimulate business on that island?
In this cruise ship development, if anyone look at what we're doing, we're putting a section for the ferry boats because we intend to move a number of persons on the ferry boats out to outer islands, Virgin Islands, especially Jos van Dijk and Igata. They will all be benefiting because we will be taking passengers out there. Remember now that when you bring in 2 cruise ships that hold between themselves 8,000 passengers and probably 4,000 crew, between them. You now have a much bigger number on a daily basis almost that you would have compared to what you had before. So there will be business for the Virgin Gorda folks, and we're going to encourage that.
So excursions will be part of the tour packages?
Big time of it, big time. We want to control it, and we look at how we're going to manage it, because we don't want to send a whole ton of people on to, say, the bats at any one time. So we want to be able to control that and so on. We don't, and we have to balance it, because we do have our, as someone rightly said on one of the call-in shows, we do have our regular charter boat people who wouldn't like to be on a beach somewhere and 1,000 people show up, and that's not what you want.
Yeah.
So,
and also to facilitate local participation in that economic aspect of the development as well, to make sure that our people, our boat owners and ferry services get that business as well.
Yes, definitely, and there's going to be an interesting concept that I think, and I'm discussing it with my ministry and the Port Authority, about the possibility of ferry businesses developing in a more major way, that they can benefit from these things that are happening.
Okay. Before I'm turning the clock, I got a million other things to ask you about different things.
I can come back another time.
Yeah, because we got a transportation issue. I mean, every day I go back and forth from East End to Road Town, and sometimes West End, Seacow's been, all over the place. I'm all over the place, and there are a lot of persons who trying to get a ride, hitch a ride, and so on.
I see it myself, and
we need a transportation system.
We need a busing system, and we are in discussions.
And you're already a pathway. I think Minister Fraser have set up at least part of that process. He's put some bus stops down. He made some legislation passed, and so on.
Yeah, and we're trying to. There's a group that is
improve on that.
There's a group that is going to get it moving. We have some issues with trying to change the regulations a bit to give them a longer franchise, because the franchise is too short for them to make the investments that they need to make, and we're trying to make adjustments to that now. And so hopefully shortly we can get it off and running.
Okay, and quickly the water supply. We seem I don't know why it is we can't get the water supply going. I remember during the discussions about Bywater, we had come to the conclusion that we really didn't need additional production of water. We needed infrastructure, but still we got people in Postle, people in West End, people all over the territory who are having water challenges continually. Why it is we can't get that thing fixed?
It's a major problem, Cromwell. We have an overall plan that we're working on. And I'm not going to promise anyone it's going to happen overnight in a short period, but we hope in the next 12 months that we can have a much better position with water. We have a plan that we're working on right now.
Okay. Are you planning to put ocean conversion back in the Bargles Bay plant?
I don't know yet what we're going to do to Bargles Bay plant, but I certainly know that we want to look for someone to manage it and develop it, and it's very possible that we'll be looking at someone to do that. But in the next 3 months or so, we will make a decision on that. But I certainly, the ministry and the water sewage department doesn't have the ability to operate and manage a water desal plant. And so we're going to look for someone to manage it. Obviously, Bywater was supposed to come on stream in November. They have some delays, and we're looking at all those things and making some decisions. There's some major discussions going on.
You campaign on changing that contract. It's over a year now. You're in the office. We see nothing.
There are discussions. It's very active. I'll put it that way.
Okay. Congratulations, Mr. Vanterpool, on the cruise ship dock project, and please consider the Main Street. Oops, let me do it this way. Congratulations, Mr. Vanterpool, on the cruise ship dock project, and please consider the Main Street in a cobbler. Please consider making the Main Street into a cobbler street. All the best, and God bless.
Yeah, there are a lot of good ideas about Main Street. And everyone who goes to Main Street love it. The old buildings, we want to maintain the structures and so on. We want to make it continue to be that image that I think we have created, and it's a historical site in itself, Main Street, and we have to cherish it.
Okay. Well, my brother, Honorable Vanterpool.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Yes, it's been a real pleasure.
Best wishes to you.
Best to you as well. You've certainly been forthright, and you ain't duck nothing.
No, I like to come out straight and let the chips fall, and as we plan to go forward.
Okay. Next week, the spotlight is going to be on the Miss BVI contestants. You know, our Emancipation celebration is coming up. It's going to be a lot of activities, so we hope to get some Calypsonians on. We're definitely going to have the contestants on. That's going to be a lot of fun, so don't miss it. You, of course, can catch up with the program tonight if you missed. Some people just tuned in. I'm sorry about that. If you missed, you could see us on JTV Live, jtvlive.net. Yes, and this is going to be rebroadcast on Sunday at 2:30, same channel in the afternoon, so you can tune in and catch Spotlight on demand. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your continued support. You can email us at jtvspotlight@yahoo.com or Measurenko, reminding you that when the spotlight is on, you see the facts. Peace and blessings.
This program is sponsored by the law firm of J.S. Archibald & Co. and by the trust company J.S. Archibald Trust Services Limited, both of Roadtown, Tortola, BVI.